let's get into it.
So I'm getting to this NBA pre-playoff. So are we gonna make some predictions today?
Yeah, let's just go through let's predict the first round.
Okay, we can predict the first round. You can predict the first round. My
And if
wife
it's
might get
if
on
it's
camera. Oh no, she didn't. Okay, it's
what?
okay. It's unprofessional. It's okay. Yeah, it's all good. I'm not cutting it out either. It's gonna stay just like that. But no, yeah, let's predict this first round. You you wanna start in the see, they do it at the same time. Same time. See, was that your kids or your wife?
My kids.
Of course, same thing, same difference. It's all right, man. It's all right, man. It's gonna be okay. Just know this: they're all gonna turn 18 one day, and they're gonna be out the house. That's
Right. And
yeah.
I'm staying. I'm getting all my money back. Okay.
Hold, do me
What
a
we
favor. Do me
start?
a favor. Scoot
Yeah.
back from the camera just a little bit, just so we can get your full right. There we go. Okay. So which conference you want to start in?
Let's start in the East because it's easier.
Okay, it is easier. I introduced a whole bracket challenge for my coworkers at work, and they actually was gobbling up. They loved it, man. It was crazy. So I was like, oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So okay, so number one seed Milwaukee Bucks going against the Pistons.
First of all,
Oh, well,
my Facebook time hop will show that of the bold predictions that I had this year, I had Milwaukee as the number one seed and representing the East in the finals this year.
say
Just
it, say it,
FYI.
say it, own it, say it now.
I also had Lakers. I also had the Lakers as making the fourth seed,
You did.
which they was well on their way until LeBron got hurt. I'm just saying.
They would have not finished as high as four, but that's fine. They would have made the
They may not
playoffs,
have
but it would
finished
have
as
been
high as
four.
fourth, but they would have made the playoffs.
For sure, for sure. I'm with you. I'm with you. No, 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 no problem there.
But
All
that's
right.
not digress. But I'm just saying.
Do you think that the Brogdon injury with the Bucks is going to play any factor in this first round with them against the Pistons?
Um, you know, the only team that I think not in the first round at all, and actually I think the place where it would hurt them the most is probably the Eastern Conference Finals if they play. If for some reason Boston decides to wake up
Mm-hmm.
and they find themselves in that position, and I need to see what side of the bracket on. Doesn't look like doesn't look like they would play the Raptors in the finals. 'Cause they on the same side of the bracket, ain't
No,
they?
no, no. They if they win out, they would play the Raptors in the Eastern Conference
Okay,
Finals.
then I think it might be an issue there
Mm-hmm.
against that team. I think they can do fine against everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they might struggle with Boston and Toronto if they were to see them.
Okay, so that next top, and it's so crazy because I memorized this because I printed up all the brackets earlier today. So the next teams up in that top right hand bracket, that's how I was printed out on my deal, was Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers.
That's a tough one.
You think so?
Only because I don't know what Boston I'm gonna get.
Right. Marcus Smart went down with an injury.
Yeah, okay.
I think
Draymond Green.
I think I think that he crazy. he got his contract, man. He got his contract from
Yeah, I can't
Boston.
help
He got his
you.
contract from Boston. What I was gonna say was is that I believe that this would be way more interesting if Victor Oladipo was healthy. I would give the Pacers a solid chance if that was. I'm not saying that the Boston Celtics are doing what they're supposed to do and they figured it out, but I don't believe that Indiana will have enough to still beat Boston. I think Boston on a bare bones level of talent can still win this first round. It probably will go longer. The series will go longer than it needs to, but
Right.
I could see it doing its thing.
I agree with that. I just wish I knew what Boston team was gonna show up. If they were gonna show up as a team, if it was gonna be Kyrie and the Pips, if it was gonna be, you know, like the team and pulling Kyrie, like who am I gonna get? But no, I think Boston takes that one.
Right. I mean, you're in agreement on that. Um, Going down to that bottom half of the Eastern bracket, we have the 76ers
Mm.
playing the Brooklyn Nets.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I like Brooklyn.
You
I'm
like
I,
Brooklyn enough, you going to pick them to beat 76ers?
well. So here's the thing: have we heard definitively that the 7-footer is gonna miss game one.
for sure. The Embiid is out for game one.
Right. See, it's gonna be hard to beat Brooklyn when your best player is not playing, your second best player can't shoot, your third best player, I don't know what he's done this year.
Talk about Butler.
Yeah, I don't know what his issue is. And then there's JJ Redick and Tobias Harris, who I do trust, who have been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But like Brooklyn plays solid defense. I think that just in terms of their athleticism, even though guys like Hollis Jefferson from Brooklyn, he's struggled this year,
Mm-hmm.
coming back from injury,
Mm-hmm.
and hadn't really seen the floor. But this was a guy who was averaging 27, 28 minutes a game last year, was
Mm-hmm.
giving him solid production. He coming off like 10th man, 11th man in the rotation,
Mm-hmm.
but he's done some things when he's gotten in there. Dinwiddie can control the rock.
Mm-hmm.
D'Angelo has balled out this year, which, by the way, D'Angelo Russell, I've heard a lot of, Magic shouldn't have traded him, and the Lakers messed up when they got rid of. First of all, D'Angelo Russell is not D'Angelo Russell if he's in a Laker uniform. I
Right.
think that trade kind of woke him up, like, oh, this basketball thing is serious.
Right. Right.
Um, but he's shown a lot in terms of his play and on some level his leadership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jared Allen has improved. Like they look good to me. I could see them if they mess around and get one of these first two without Embiid, or if Embiid mess around and don't show up until Brooklyn, it might be a hole they can't climb out of.
I definitely can rock with you on the concept of them stealing some games, them being a team that's on the come up. I definitely can do that. But I'm going to have a hard time them possibly beating the 76ers if I would know that Joel Embiid was out the whole series, which is still a possibility per se, then I would be like, oh, you know what? 76 is going to have to be careful. But at the same time, now watch this. Now you just named Dinwiddie, Russell, Jared Allen. Are all those
Mm-hmm.
do all those dudes start?
Although, well, Dinwiddie doesn't start. He like that 6 man.
So can you name me the starting five for Brooklyn?
I think it's Russell, Caris LeVert, Jared Allen. Who was playing the four for them? Huh?
and now watch this now.
Oh,
When I
Damari Carroll,
okay,
maybe.
okay.
Man, that's a maybe. I mean, I think he's starting that. I don't know who playing the four.
And that right there is what not so much that we because like oh my gosh the Brooklyn Nets we can't name the starting five. It's not that. It's just the concept of they're gonna run out of they don't have enough. That sounds bad. Star power because you know the Philadelphia they did a pretty good job of putting some people on their bench that matter. Jonathan
Who?
Simmons and there was some
Boban?
huh
Boban?
Jonathan Simmons and it was one somebody else they got on their bench. That's that could play some minutes. I forgot who it was though. But this is my point. This is
I
all I'm
got you.
saying.
I got you.
They can steal some games, but they're not gonna be able to beat the 76ers. Are you picking them over the 76ers?
You know what? So 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 I'm gonna go off of today with Embiid not being there, and that'll be my caveat. If Embiid only plays 4 games in this series, I don't think they win.
So
I think he's got to play at least 6 games.
for sure, I think the series is gonna get stretched to 6 games, and he's gonna have to play six, five, six. He gonna have to play all the games. I can see him playing 4 ball games and then being up like 3-1, then losing the fifth game, and then they be like, "Oh, we got to get him back in," and then But
Yeah,
yeah, I
they're
don't know how
tough.
serious the
They're
injury is.
tough.
I didn't read any reports on how serious the injury is or anything like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're tough. So I'll go on a ledge and I'll say I'll take Brooklyn here.
Okay, okay, all right. They're young. I'm not one of these type of people that somebody got to have. You have to have a coming out party at some point.
Uh,
But
there's only two guys. There's only two guys, three guys who can shoot on Philadelphia's team. One of them is not playing in Game One, and that's Tobias Harris and JJ Redick.
okay, I'm with you. No, I know, and it's a shooter. It's a shooting league. It's a shooting league. I'm with you. I'm with you. We've seen a
Okay,
whole bunch. Okay, last matchup in that Eastern
Toronto,
First is Toronto and
Toronto, period.
does
Toronto,
who they playing? I forgot who they playing.
Orlando. Stop it.
Vucevic ain't gonna have nothing for them boys.
So even if he does,
Right.
he got to see a combination of Ibaka, Gasol. He might have
Siakam.
times where he sees Siakam. Like they don't have enough. And
Nah.
what DJ Augustine gonna do?
Yeah.
He got to see Kyle, who I never trust Kyle Lowry in the playoffs offensively. But you gotta see Kyle, you gotta see
Right.
Van Fleet. You
Right.
might mess around, have to see Kawhi. Like, come on, man.
Very, very
I'm not
complete,
even gonna
very
play with
complete
Orlando.
team. Very complete team. A quiet two
I'm not,
seed, and I say a quiet two seed only because there are people who can't name their starting roster, but you should be able to because they got people that's balling and they got bench
yeah,
players, so they got depth, all
yeah.
that. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so we got Milwaukee, Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Then you taking Brooklyn. I'm saying the 76ers, and we both saying Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we only gonna do the first round, right? Yeah, let's only do the first round.
Okay,
Yeah, because it's late.
we'll come back.
We'll come. You want to go? Yeah, it's late. It's late. It's late, man. It's late. It's late. So let's
Let's
move
go to
over
the
to the
West
west. Let's move over to the
because
west.
that's where it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait for this.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Okay, first round, 1-8. You got Golden State and the Clippers.
So, is there a chance that Steph Curry, Cousins, Klay Thompson, and Durant don't play at all in the first four games?
Have you heard something about
No, that's my point.
that?
Golden State.
Boy, I was
We're
about to
not even
say, wait a
playing
minute, because that's the only way. Yeah, yeah. I,
the Clippers in the locker room. The Clippers in the locker room popping champagne because they made the AC. And I mean, look, kudos to them. You trade away some very heavy hitters.
right,
It was like, well, are they tanking? No, they made the playoffs, got in there,
right,
wonderful.
right.
Lost.
Yeah,
Stop it.
yeah. Now, the second half of the top of that bracket, which was real interesting when I started filling mine out today, it's the Rockets against
Mm,
the
mm.
against who? It's
Utah Jazz.
the Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing for me. This is all I'm gonna talk about. Cause I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you who I pick. I'm picking the
Yeah.
Rockets. Picking the
Okay.
Rockets. I'm not picking. I'm not going crazy. But this is my problem. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
don't like. And this is what you have to pay attention to. The Rockets slipped to the 4 seed. They would
Mm-hmm.
have did themselves a greater time to either be in that 2 or 3 seed. So they wouldn't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about seeing them Warriors until the Western Conference Finals. I believe
So that.
that seeing them in the Western Conference Final was going to bring about, it's serious time. Everything's on the line. You're gonna see you could have seen some great basketball come out. Not saying that the playoffs themselves are not like that. It just would have been different. It would have been a little
Mm-hmm.
bit different. Intensity would have been. That's all I'm talking about. Is just the intensity. And the other thing I want to tell people is that, and I didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of research. Maybe you can help me with this. Why did they slip to the 4 seed? What wasn't going right around in that time to where they actually slipped all the way down to the 4 seed?
Well, let's just talk about the last game against OKC.
Okay.
So you're up 12 late in the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
You, I mean, you are firmly in control,
Mm-hmm.
but you start to miss shots. They start to turn up on the defensive end. You stop giving the ball to Chris Paul because you got to give it to James Harden. Because it's time for Harden to cook. Because that's what you got into. When
That's
Chris
what you
Paul was
right.
missing games, that's what you got into. When in doubt, let Harden cook.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't get it done by himself. Just like he always can't get it
Yeah.
done by himself.
Right. Right.
It's not something. So the Rockets are probably the one team in the playoffs that's got the widest range of outcomes.
Right. Right.
They can blow you out by 40. They could lose by being up 40. Like, just their success, in
Mhm.
my opinion, will always be contingent on how much of a cushion can they have to where they don't have to rely on James, but they can run the offense through Chris Paul.
Right. That. Yeah.
If Chris Paul is allowed to be Chris Paul late in the game, provided that he's actually healthy and out there,
Mhm.
if they don't have to rely on James, then it makes them somebody who could potentially challenge the Warriors.
Right. Right.
I think that the Rockets have enough at the end of the day to beat Utah,
Mhm.
because I don't trust Rubio and Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. Right. Right. Both of them have cooled off significantly from what they were doing
Yeah,
last season, for sure.
I just don't. Yeah, I just don't. I don't trust them and what they're able to bring to the game offensively.
Right.
And Joe Ingles is like the great value version of Manu Ginobili.
For those who don't
So,
know, Great Value is the Walmart store brand. I know Walmart is everywhere, but don't act like y'all ain't never made a sandwich at least
right,
one time with that Great Value nasty bread. I'm just saying.
right. So, and again, like, he's useful.
Hmm.
He can be used, but he's not a guy that I want to rely on facilitating my offense when I've got Rubio and Mitchell. I love the Stifle Tower. I think that he dominates Capella in this matchup. Um, I don't know how useful Derek Favors will be in this matchup, if Utah will stay big, or if you'll see a lot more Crowder. And if you see a lot more Crowder, I don't trust his health.
Right.
I definitely think the Rockets get by Utah.
Yeah.
It might be a little more interesting at first than it needs to be, but I think the Rockets easily in six.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about the Rockets is that I don't know if they can put together that dominance, whatever that chemistry was that they have working when all three of their guys were healthy, Capella, Harden, and Chris Paul. There's something to that triage, and then you got your boy coming off the bench, Gordon coming off the bench, torching it up. It's something to that. I just don't know. I don't know if they had to go too far into the hero ball with Harden because of all of that to where they can't pull themselves back out. And it's not enough in the DNA of this season to where they can pull that back out and take that in there. But I'm with you. Yes, I do think the Houston Rockets have enough to get to the second round. Uh, Next matchup, interesting matchup.
Hmm.
I think it can be some. I think it can be some sparks flying from whoever wins or who I think is going to win the matchup, and that's between the Portland Trailblazers
Hmm.
and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
The Paul George injury scares me.
Injury, well, help me. Injury.
I mean, now they're not. They haven't said that he's not gonna play, but he's got a bit of a shoulder thing going on. Um,
Mm.
Now I don't remember hearing that McCollum is back. I,
Yeah, I
he
don't
may.
remember
I
that
think he.
either. That's why I was just about was going to be my next question. Is he back?
Yeah. I don't know if he's back, but even if he is back, he's not 100%.
Right.
But the one guy that I know is not back is Nurkic.
Yes, we know that was, man. That was terrible, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. And then when I woke up the next day and I started seeing all the stuff on Instagram, man, I felt so bad for that dude, man.
Yeah.
But Nurkic was balling. I like Nurkic a lot, And
Yes.
yeah, man, that was unfortunate, man. That was terrible.
Yeah. I just don't think that they have enough.
Right.
This is one of those times where I think Westbrook, uh, him, Steven Adams controlling the glass, Jeremiah Grant has played some great basketball
Right.
this season.
Right. Right.
And Schroeder, when Dennis Schroeder gets hot like he did the other night shooting them threes. I mean, I think the boy hit 8 or 9 threes in
Mm-hmm.
the series finale. Like he can be a weapon. He can also be trash. Um, but being able, and again, trash is relative. We're
Right,
talking about
I know
great.
what you
We're
mean.
talking about great
Yeah.
basketball player. I don't want
Right.
somebody looking at the video. Man, he ain't never played the game.
Mm-hmm.
You call him trash. Trash is relative.
Right.
He's still one of the greatest basketball players on the planet. He's in the NBA.
Right.
But there's a reason why he's not on Atlanta no more.
Exactly.
Um, I think that they roll Portland just because I don't think they can recover from the Nurkic injury. I'm a fan of Cantor offensively. He's terrible on defense,
Terrible.
and I
Yeah.
don't think they have much else.
Yeah. I picked OKC as well.
Yeah.
And I'll say that I like the basketball story that OKC could be if they get enough headway momentum. You know,
Right.
could I name them the biggest beneficiary of the Rockets not landing the top three seed? Because you let the Warriors and the Rockets do their thing on that second round bracket, and then if I'm able to get to the Western Conference Finals, I put myself in a position to at least advance to the finals, at least show what I got. You know, regardless who
Right.
comes out, even if if it won't happen, but if they was real lucky, they could play the Rockets in the conference finals. But whatever, that I know not gonna happen, not gonna happen. Um, the last matchup.
Oh yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
The San Antonio Spurs will be taking on the Denver Nuggets. Um, let me start off by saying this, since the Spurs are my team. Let me start
Hmm.
off by saying this. Um, one thing that I think works well with me and you and our whole commentary is that we're not delusional. We'll call it
Facts.
for what it is. You
Hmm.
know. So I know that my team is a 7 seed. I'm not even tripping on that. I know my
Sure.
team has suffered some injuries. I know my team does not have a player to the caliber of Kawhi Leonard, because there's been times where DeMar DeRozan has somewhat disappeared this season, and then sometimes he
Hmm.
comes out and he balls. The inconsistency that we
Hmm.
get from LaMarcus Aldridge is to be expected, but I
Hmm.
always like the fact that when he shows that his skill set is there, so when he throws up a 34 and 16 game or something like that, it's like, man, this boy can ball, la la la. I
Hmm.
think we're getting some premium years. We're getting some Grant Hill type years out of Rudy Gay. Um,
Yeah.
and we have seen, and just like what's so crazy with the Spurs is that you see young guys that's able to get valuable time on the court, like Derek White. I love Derek White. I think he's a baller. I think he's only going to get
Hmm.
better, become more efficient, because efficiency is his biggest problem. He can score, he can defend very
Hmm.
well, but his efficiency, because he takes a lot of shots, that's something that's going to come as he gets older in the league. So let me just say this. I believe I wasn't real surprised by the Nuggets' success this season. The Nuggets are almost like the Western Conference Bucks. They have
Hmm.
solid coaching, solid system, guys in the right places, right type of guys doing whatever. The Joker, Jokic at the middle, he cold. Gary Harris is a baller. He dealt with some injury a little bit this season. Will Barton is a guy, that if you need points, he can heat up almost like microwave, that type of thing. So
Hmm.
they got pieces and they got some things. Now, just to, just speak this talking straight chalk, the 2 seed should beat the 7 seed. But this now I'm gonna leave this right here without trying to sound too homer, okay?
Okay.
I'm just gonna recollect on something. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was the same scenario with a 2-7 seed. There was this one playoffs time where the Spurs went in as like a 7 seed, and they played against they played against the 2 seed, which at the time was when Chris Paul was with the New Orleans Hornets, and that's when they had David, um, what's my man name,
West.
David West. They had a
Yeah.
couple other players on the team, and everybody was like, "Oh man." Finally, this New Orleans Hornets franchise, back and forth, Charlotte, whatever the case was, they finally gonna do something. And the Spurs took that series to 7 games and won the series off some
Sure.
straight veteran savvy.
Hmm.
I'm going to say, if there was any high seed in all of these playoffs in the first round outside of the Philadelphia 76ers, who have to
Mm.
keep their ears perked up about what's going. About don't think there's a pushover because you're a 2 seed playing a 7 seed. You can lose to the Spurs.
You can lose. That's
You can
true.
lose
No,
because we got popped. And I thought about that back in the day, and I said, how much better is really Denver better than the Spurs? Last piece, and I'll kick it back to you. They split the season series 2-2. It's just to make it a great thing. That's good basketball. You have these teams, and you look at it, and when you start lining up the superstar names and the all stars, you start lining that type of stuff up, and you're looking at it, and you say, wait 1 minute. But as long as the Spurs don't go down like 3-1 or something like that in the series, if they keep it close, like back and forth, that'll give better chances. Uh, just I did pick the Spurs to win the series, but that is a little bit
of course.
nostalgia and whatever. But go ahead, sir.
So I completely agree with the Spurs being the one team that's at the bottom of the bracket who could really make some noise. So kind of the point that you made about OKC and who they might end up being with Golden State and Houston kind of tussling it out. It's not unfathomable that the Spurs could find themselves in the Western Conference Finals.
Say it.
It's not unfathomable. So here's what I like about the Spurs. I do like Derek White and what he brings defensively, how he's kind of grown as the season has gone on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in what's going to happen next year when DeJounte comes back and what that's going to mean because neither one of those guys is a three-point shooter.
Right.
But playing those two in the same backcourt would be something real nasty for opposing backcourts.
Defensively, brother, I'm telling you,
Right.
it's nasty.
Separate issue though.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs obviously have the most playoff experience. They obviously have the better coach. But as you mentioned, the last time the Spurs were a low seed and they took on and beat a higher seed, there were Hall of Famers on that team.
For sure.
I'm talking about the great Timmy D was on that team.
Absolutely.
Ain't no Timmy Duncan on this team.
Nah.
So my concern is I've seen DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs when it get tight.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen LaMarcus Aldridge in the playoffs when it get tight.
Mm-hmm.
I can't trust them.
I'm with
I
you.
want to trust them. The skill set's there. I mean, these guys are perennial all stars. But I can't trust them when they get that. They on that Harden bandwagon with me. I can't trust you when it get tight. So then, as long as you can keep the series from getting tight, then I think they got a chance. This is what has to happen. They got to go into Denver, and they got to win game one.
For sure.
If they win game one, I think that puts a heavy burden on the mindset of the Nuggets. I think it's possible that because of their inexperience and how much they rely on the three-pointer and getting hot, I can see Jamal Murray disappearing if they lose game one. I can see because nobody's hitting the outside shot, it's just suffocating the Joker on the inside. I can see Millsap breaking down, blowing out a tire.
Right.
There's a lot that can happen if they lose game one.
Right.
I think the series starts when somebody wins on the other person's court.
Mm-hmm.
The Spurs can't win this series if they can't take one in Denver.
Absolutely.
The
Agreed.
Spurs come into the playoffs with the worst road team defense in the league. They are terrible on the road. I think they went 16-25, 16-35.
That's
I am not.
That's
I mean,
horrendous.
this is bad. But if they can win game one, somehow, some way, I think that the Spurs have enough to beat Russell Westbrook in the second round, especially given the he's terrible when the playoffs get tight too.
Right.
It's like a perfect storm. Like this could be the worst summer in San Antonio for me because it's so like because the more that they win, the more delusional the fan base gonna
This
get.
is true.
Like
This is
we went from a fan base who was like, man, Spurs suck. Well, screw Kawhi to we gonna be all right to man, what's wrong with DeMar? Rudy Gay old. LaMarquisha Aldridge, she ain't doing nothing. Pop lost it. What's going on? Who is this Derek White? Like all of this to then it was, man, wait a minute, they doing something. Look at DeMar Ball. He almost averaged a triple double. This guy didn't know he was a facilitator. To oh my God, what are we gonna do? The road trip. We're gonna be a 500 team.
right.
To now, oh, we're the 7th seed. Here come the Spurs. Like this could be the worst roller coaster. Like like I need Denver to take care of business. But but much like I picked Brooklyn, I think that I'm gonna go with the Spurs in the first round.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. I, you know, as a Spurs fan, a real fan, a fan of basketball, I don't know if I use the word despise, but I don't like when when our fan base gets
Mm,
delusional because so watch this. They'll win the first round and and people will skip past everything and just be like, we're gonna beat Golden State, we're going to the finals. And it's just like, dog, wait a minute. Like, can you just wait a minute? Because
you hear that sound?
we'll win game one of the Nugget series. And then people will start talking like, what Russell Westbrook is trash. Can we get to it? Can we get to
Cancel cancel your plans. You hear that sound? That's them riverboats. You hear it? That's what they gonna be
it?
saying. You hear it? You hear it? It's riverboat time.
I'm gonna tell you right now, what would be quite lovely, but it would be a Cinderella overachievement type story. Would be us to be able to beat the Nuggets, which is a reality. Like that's solid. That's you can.
Yeah,
I ain't say you could bet
that's
your
light.
bottom dollar on it, but that's gonna be a good series. We have
Right,
a legitimate chance of winning that series.
right.
And then when we get and if we play OKC, then what you're talking about is a team that underachieved per se, and then that we can quote unquote match up well with on any given night. So cool, whatever. And then you find yourself in the Western Conference Finals. That's where all the whatever comes into play. Like, oh, are you serious right now? Because even if that's the Rockets or the Warriors, it's a problem. It's an
Yeah,
absolute problem. Not unless one of them teams came in limping and beat up, which is not gonna happen. That's where that
right.
is. So Cinderella, yeah, I would. It's crazy that the Spurs would be in that position because there's really no team like that in the Eastern Conference. I would have said a team like that would have been somebody like Indiana if Oladipo was healthy. Them boys could have came in there and if you beat Boston in the first round, and then the thing that you can play on them with Milwaukee is Milwaukee ain't never really been there before contemporarily. They haven't went deep. And so you get them in the second round, you can make some noise. You look up, oh man, Indiana Pacers in the West. I mean, in the Eastern Conference Finals, whatever, la la. But yeah, I'm glad. I give you kudos for using your basketball acumen to say, hey,
Yeah.
you picking the Spurs. I mean so. But
I can't hate for hate's sake. You can't hate for hate's sake.
yeah, for
Gotta be
sure.
objective.
I understand that. We only gonna do the first round
Mm,
on predictions. Um, I just want to say one thing. Let me say this thing. So I said something. I said to somebody earlier today. People talking all that junk. I think the one person who can kind of like, depending on what he feel like and what he want to do, is either going to make this an easy playoff for the whole NBA, or he can make it interesting. And that one person to me is Kevin Durant. If
mm.
Kevin Durant come out and just ball and just say, "Hey y'all forgot about me and y'all forgot what I can do or whatever," and he come out, he just balling and everybody healthy, yeah, that's yeah. However you want to draw it, yeah. I'm gonna be now. My team that I'm rooting for, that I want to see do well, are the Bucks. Cause I love Giannis. I love the way they put
Mm.
the team together. I like the way what Budenholzer's doing for the team. And yes, he comes out of the pop coaching tree. I love how that team is put together and what they're doing. They're saying, "Hey, we here. We going." they could get steamrolled up if they get far enough, and it could be whatever. But that's the team that I'm rooting for. I'm always going to be rooting for the Spurs, and the fact that they kind of like, in that Cinderella mode, and it could, be upset special. But if Kevin Durant is like, I've been cruising all season, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put it in overdrive, and I'm gonna show y'all. Yeah, it could be a problem. It could be a problem.
Yeah. Well, it should be an interesting first round.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this last thing about Indiana. I know we're talking about Oladipo,
Mm-hmm.
but let us not get distracted by the fact that Oladipo got hurt still fairly early on in the season,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and
They still a fifth
Indiana
seed. Yeah.
Indiana maintain. I mean, let's not get distracted by the fact that this is still somehow, some way, a team to be reckoned with. And like I said, if Boston don't figure out who they really are, they could find themselves going home in this first round, and Kyrie going straight to the Knicks.
Well, for real though, the of course the Spurs Nuggets series I'm gonna watch every game. The only other series that I said that I know that I would watch every game is Boston Indiana. So I want to see what's going on. That's gonna be, those are two great series. Like I said, a lot of good matchups. It's gonna be a lot of good basketball in this first round. Because I don't think the Pistons are a pushover, and I think that with
Yes,
the
they are.
thing they are.
Yes, they are.
I
Yes, they
tried, my bad, Detroit. I tried to throw you a bone, Detroit. I tried to throw you a bone, but no, that Indiana Boston series, because they can't get it together, and like what you said, with the ramifications of that, seeing the shakeup, what could happen after that. That's gonna be real interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on that. Um, but yeah, man, those yeah, it should be a really good, first round for sure.
Well, let's start tomorrow, so we'll see.
Yeah, so by the time this video goes up, it's probably gonna be a couple games that's gonna be played, but it's cool though. It's retroactive. We filmed it before the game started. I'm just happy to be filming again, man. I'm glad you're
I know.
halfway settled into your crib. Congratulations, man. All that good stuff.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. But yeah, just so it won't tell on. Let's just go ahead and end it right there. It's
All right.
late. You know what I'm saying? I'm hungry. I need to go to bed. Fat boys don't need to be hungry in the middle of the night. That's when you start snacking and everything. And it ain't good for nobody, you understand? So, yeah.
All right, my
All right.
brother.
That's what's up then, man. But tell everybody I said what's up, fool.
All right, man.
All right.